Yes, people, respect. Another Wednesday man them chatting session. Tonight, special guest. We have Mr. Tyrone King, AKA Scrumptious, Lovers Rock artist, producer, record label owner, Caribbean cuisine pioneer, live and direct on MDC. Yes, brother Tyrone, welcome, bro.
Welcome to the Mandem Chat. Wonderful title.
Welcome.
Yes, Mr. Tyrone.
To the point, Mandem Chat for true.
Yeah. So Tyrone, we could take it from the beginning, like, give us a little bit of your childhood background and stuff, before we get into the music and the food.
100 sure. Things. From the beginning. Yeah, well, naturally, born in Jamaica in my days, like most Jamaican kids at the time, we were exposed to music and sunshine and land and wood and water. So we always, and food. So yeah, I grew up in that good environment, church and things like that. So, but there was always music in the background. There was a lot of sound systems across the road from where the big shop and up the road. And I was fascinated by the sound that, them play midnight. It's not like over here, sound system were belting all sort of night, sometimes 7 days a week. And you could always hear the sound wherever you are. And I picked up the interest in music from them. And sometimes the men would come around on the back of a truck with their homemade instrument, like them banjo, them guitar, them dub bass, them guitar, them we call maracas, with them make out of coconut, and and they would play on the back of their truck and stop outside of the bar, and it was very good. They used to play like rumba type music and calypso, and after a while, then we had ska. That sort of thing that came in, and then, sort of thing. So the whole concept of music came in. But then I came to England in the 60s or late 60s. And then, the rock steady was being born then. And of course, in my house, we had a shop, and my stepfather used to run a shubeen. So we used to have a lot of people around for drinks and party. So I used to do the DJing. It was by the latest record. So I was into my early, early Toots and the Mates and Bob. Those early artists, which is something we have to feature in the other concept that we're doing, Jamaica International Music, Food and Culture Appreciation Society, because those music was the ones that influenced all the reggae music we have today. But a lot of people don't know about those artists. I'm sure Ninja will do. And these other, because it's a part of our history. But then, when I came here, we were doing that. The school I used to go to, Huntingdon School, where, what's his name? Harold Wilson used to go, Prime Minister, went to that boys' school. And the teacher there, he used to, every afternoon, he used to have every Friday afternoon, last lesson, we used to do a sort of a talent competition. So I used to join it, and I always win, because I was singing like the cultural songs from Jamaica. If I had a wing like a bird, and if you money can't buy life, Elena, all them songs there, and Cliff Richard had a song which was Bachelor Boy. So I used to sing all those in there, and I used to win every week, and so when I went to my secondary school, now they had we call it a guitar, a Christian guy. He played guitar, and we were doing fundraising for the school garden. So I ended up being the singer for that one. But earlier than that, I decided to put a band together when I was about 12, to start a proper band. And I went around knocking for men, looking for musicians, and I managed to put a band. So by the time about 12 and a bit, I put together a band with some white guys and a mixed group. And they wanted to play rock and roll, and I wanted to play reggae and soul. So I had to compromise and learn to sing rock and roll, pop, jazz, the whole lot, everything that's in the charts. And because I wanted to do my reggae. So I was singing all the reggae tunes that was what was going out, things like
sorry to interject, Tyrone. Could you turn your camera up a bit so we can see your face? Because
yeah, sorry.
I can't see you properly. Yeah.
From then, we started this band in Nottingham, and this band was very good. I even went and did Opportunity Knocks for Euro Green, and we didn't win, but my intention was to come to London by I was 16, 17 to start my own record label and my own vision of making music to go in the chart. So that's the concept. So I left after saved up my money. I did an electrical course in electronics, so I was very good at that. But I left it 3/4 of the way to come to London, to come and link up. I came to link up with all the companies, but I didn't get no interest from EMI, CBS, Polydor, Decca. I did check out Trojan, but Trojan Records wasn't, they didn't, pay too much attention. But I went to Palmer, and the Palmer's house producer, Ronnie Williams, liked what I had. And he says, yeah, I think you got some things, I think we can work on. So I went back about 15, wait till I was about 17, 18. I'd finished off my apprenticeship and well, not finished off. I left school, did a year or two, and then I came back to London to connect with Palmer.
That's Jetstar Palmer, yeah?
Palmer, yeah, that's right. But yeah, it wasn't Jetstar then, but I came then, and that's where I met a lot of the artists, them from Alton Ellis, all of the producers and all of the recording artists. That was my dream. And Junior English and all those people, we make some connections. So that's where I started my first the first record I invested in was In My Heart. In My Heart there is a place, the Ginger Williams on a rhythm track that we made called Tenderness, and it's a nice tune. If you play that, In My Heart there is a place that no other man, very good tune. It never dies. That was those two I kicked off then. And then Ronnie went back to Canada, and Palmer broke up, and I went and set up my Venture Records at Gangsterville in Harrow Road, where, while I was at Palmer, I met Brinsley, and Brinsley used to come with his guitar on his back. And I told him one day, listen, I want to start a band. So I said, you can play guitar, I will sing, and we can find. So from there, there was Popsy used to come around. So we had Popsy, Angus, myself. So we decided to start the band. Tony Robinson. We needed a drummer, and Brinsley said he knows a little boy, schoolboy named Angus. He lives in a flat, so he's got his mother just bought him a drum kit. So I said, go and get him. So he got the Angus to bring his drum kit to Gangsterville at the back of the shop, and we started to rehearse. I auditioned him, and he was brilliant. So I said, we'll keep him. Nobody care about me a drum kit. So he stayed, and we then picked up George Oban, which is the original bass guitar, Aswad, when they made Back to Africa. So he joined the band, and we had a band. We decided after a while, trying to find some name. We couldn't find any name that I suggested and they suggested. So Brinsley, tell him to go and think about it. Brinsley came back and he said he went because he had the great influence from George, who had just come back from Jamaica, and he was very influenced by Peter Tosh and Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer. So they were burning their spliff and influenced with their Rasta culture. So they decided, the whole band started to change because I had them on a more English sort of a vision, Solid Boys that I had been discussing to try and get them to the boys. But they come and they wanted to be like Bob Marley. And I was saying, you can't be like Bob Marley. There's only one Bob Marley. So there's a bit of politics. Anyway, we decided one night to give him the opportunity to go and find a name. So Brinsley went along and he says, I was reading the Bible and I came up with this, I saw this Aswad. He said, what is it? He said, it means black. I said, well, that sounds good. So I said, yeah. So we said, let's vote in there. I said, well, okay, we'll go with that. And so we decided to call the band Aswad. So that's how Aswad was born. I'd made the dub plate, the first record. I'd made an album with them. And the first dub plate, we were trying to find a name. So when we said Aswad, now I marked the dub plate.
You need to sit up, Tyrone. Tyrone, sit up, man.
Sorry, yeah. I marked the dub plate with the name Afward on it and tell him to give it to Coxon. And funny enough, and Josh Shaka forgot player. So I gave it to Coxon to play, and it was very nice, a nice track they played, and you know, but after a while, you know, they through George, they took the track to Chris Blackwell behind my back, and I didn't know anything about that, and they were coming to me with a bit of violent attitude to come and say they wanted the master tape, and I said, "You're crazy." Anyway, I had a girlfriend who knew Brensley parents and Brensley's sister and Brensley well, and she literally, when they came and George come one day, she took out a chap and said, "You dare look what, you know, Barry had to go and this and that and spend all this money and say, and you're going to come with this attitude." But what they'd done, they went to Chris Blackwell with the dub plate. Chris Blackwell liked them, and Chris Blackwell wanted the master tape, like all record companies would do. So they couldn't come and tell me that they've been behind my back to betray me and that sort of thing. So they were trying to get it with the typical Jamaican force, violence. However, one day I had a call from Chris Blackwell who says, "I have a Tyrone." He called me at the office. He says, "I've got a band here, and they got some music which you produce." He says, I like it. Your band, I like it. He says, "I'm interested, but can we work together?" I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "Well, they came and they're trying to sell him some tracks, which was already copyrighted to me. Because the first thing that I always do with every artist that came along from Tradition, Aswood, Investigators, all the groups I associate with, was to explain to them the importance of sorting out their copyright and their PRS. So I signed them up to the PRS, and any songs they had, I copyrighted it. So the same songs I had copyrighted under my venture music record publishing, they had went to sell it to Chris Blackwell. And Chris Blackwell is a proper company. He was sorted out through all the performing rights thing. So they recognized that the titles that he was given already belonged to me. So Chris Blackwell bring me and says, "You know, this is not, you know," but he says, I'm interested. Could we work together?" I said, "No," because of the sort of a backstabbing concept. I couldn't, because they came to me behind the scene with violence and thing and because they went and made that kind of deal, and I don't deal like that. So I said, "Chris Blackwell, no." I says, "You can have them. I am not going to be responsible for holding anybody back." So I said, "You can have them." He said, "You sure we can't work together?" So I said, "No." So that's how we didn't progress any further with them, and they went and got signed to Blackwell. Signed because I told him, "You won't have any problem for me. You can have them." So he signed them, and then they released, Back to Africa under Island Record. So in the meantime, I told him, "I'm going to put together a band to replace you lot." So that band was Tradition. And I told them, so I put together the Tradition, was my replacement band. And, they took over the mantle of being, at the time, the best group there is, which, funny enough, Angus and Popsy come to say, "Boy, Barry, you'd say that you were going to create a better band, and you've done it," because we went to this dance in Accra Mall. I think Coxon was playing as well, and they were saying, "Boy," because I put a Tradition in dub and some other thing there, and it was really the in thing at the time. So they were congratulating me, saying, "Boy, you said you were going to create a band to show us how it's done and better than we." Sorry. So from there. So then, came Tradition, and Traditioners. I then got them to sign them to RCA, and again there was undermining, backstabbing politics, and they lost the deal because of trying to undermine the whole thing, and that's why RCA kicked them out, because I'd set up a wonderful opportunity for them, because it was all a schoolboy's vision to come to London, find some artists, make them into millionaires. That was my vision for the whole lot of it, but they chose to thinking that, they can. It's a typical thing with the reggae business. You want somebody to do something, it seems like money is going to be made. Before you even start to make money, somebody will come along and decide to step out of line and try and go and do it. I've seen it 1,000 times in the thing. They don't know the business. They haven't got the infrastructure, but they try to go and do it. And then everything mash up. The whole thing always spoil because of our impatience. That's what it is, and indiscipline. So the reggae business, they could have been my dream. They could have been multimillionaires, but that was the ambition. And that was the ambition of the companies I was dealing with, because I told them I'd like them to be millionaires from their, to be, and they were quite interested. But again, they didn't, do the business with the principle. In business, you must have integrity. You can't just go, and they didn't like the aggression that the Jamaican artists were building with the English artists. Because when I was trying to sign tradition, I remember the RCA told me that Chris Blackwell and Richard Bronson told them that they were not going to be dealing with any more of the reggae groups because they're too aggressive and disrespectful, and they don't do business the way they do it, because they want to walk in their office and, the secretary's there. They want to bypass the secretary and ask, where the boy Bronson there? Where the what not? And Blackwell, they don't do business like that, they were saying. So the same thing the guy RC was telling me, Tyrone, if we give you something you don't like it, throw it back over the table and we'll discuss it diplomatic. But we don't want this kind of a behavior that they have in Jamaica. In Jamaica, them go down, gunman, go and see the producer, this, that. You want RC telling me somebody, they signed a deal or with CBS, and the artists come from Jamaica and they come over here, they want to walk in the office, but want to see the man. Me, you said this man sign a deal and him get money and me not get none. And they say don't deal like that. They deal, if you have a manager who come to represent you and discuss on your behalf. You can't go in like a bad man deal, because that frightens them and they don't deal like that. So a lot of the opportunities that could have been good for the business was eventually shut off. So, the Bunalees and the 90s and all these producers who could come over, bring their tapes, sell it to Island Records and Virgin and Trojan, were no longer getting the opportunity. So the artists lose out at the end of the day. And, where they could come over and the producers could get 100,000, 70,000 advance for an album and then go back. But they were greedy. They were selling the same product to Trojan. They were selling it to Virgin. They were selling it to Chris Blackwell. And, and getting the money up front. And, that's not good. So these are some of the problems what destroy the reggae business, because there were not the integrity in running the business. Because you're a man, you come from Jamaica as a producer. If you're going to deal with Island, because you deal with Island Records. If you're going to deal with Virgin, you don't come and sell them the same tape. I'm sure all of you in the business who have another years to go, who have heard of things like that. That one sell that music to that one sell. And then it even happened to me with artists who come to sell products. Owen Gray, big youth producer there, and sell me products that they had stolen on cassette, and sell it to Trojan and Island and come and sell me. And I bought it. And it cost me about £6,000, because even though I tell the producer, say, this was given to me, and him explain how would the guy get it. And I just marketed, but I said, you can have the tape back. And so it still cost me about £6,000. It's a lot of money to them, because, he was just being greedy, because him already did sell it to Trojan or some other company. But because he felt like he could make money out of the situation, and he could see them a small company. And I was caught up with this deceptive thing from his own artist, but he just did that to make money. And I had to pay, because I ended up in a high court thing and I had to pay the cost and give him about £6,000 for him saying want, from something that he knew I was conned and it was illegal. He accepted that, because he told me how but they still want it. And that's the trouble with us. We had no principle, and it was just money. So it cost me a lot of aggravation. So, I remember same principle when I was dealing with RCA. They tell me, I said, no, I'm not dealing with Jamaican products. I'm not dealing with any more Jamaican. I don't produce Jamaican artists. As I'm producing British artists to create our own British roots, because in England, our suffering and experience is different from what it is in Jamaica. I said to them, when somebody say that they're hungry in Jamaica, like Bob Marley sing about, everybody sit around a tenement yard, a drink army porridge, and that might be, as friends, the only meal they might get for the day. That is true. When they're hungry, they're hungry. In England, you go down to complain at the NHS office, and you will get a food voucher or a check or something. So you're not supposed to starve to the extent. In Jamaica, when you're hungry, you can be hungry. So, that sort of thing. But getting back to the music business, that's the business is now in a shambles. And what you gentlemen, man, them chat, the concept what you're trying to do, it's so necessary to keep alive the importance of our culture and the music. But it's very much like now we're on our own. So I really do support what you're doing, because it's a good concept and it's a good message and it's a good, we call it outlet for awareness in what you've been doing in trying to highlight the importance of, keeping the culture and keeping the good music going. And nowadays, it seems like the whole culture of the music has changed. There's not so much musicians who really early in the 80s and the 70s and 80s, there were guys who were playing the instrument as drummers and bass guitarists and rhythm guitarists and musicians, and they play together, and you have a session, you could call them up and they would, play talent. Reggae is a feel. I don't think you can replace the whole concept with electronic music. It's not the same. The original reggae, the music one, Love Studio One and now Channel One, all these music coming up, and Sly and Robbie, it's a feel, as human, it's spiritual inspiration that play. You got some more wicked bass line and rhythm section and various, moves musically that created some of the best lovers. It's like even Lovers Rock, the bass on it. When I was creating this thing in the studio, the whole, it's not just thrown together, it was felt out, it's a feel. And that's what reggae music, which cannot be replaced by any computer digital thing. And I think that's, listening to what you're saying, is that's what you're trying to keep real music alive. And we have to, because I was reading some information them sent me about AI music. You got, I think, Liam Gallagher, I think from Oasis. They're very much into this high-tech thing where they want to do music from scratch. Even the voice is going to be AI, and the rhythm and everything. And it's going to be so done that you can hardly recognize and identify the real thing. We don't want reggae music. You know what I mean? We want to hear the trueness of the feel of the bass guitars and the drummer and the rhythm and everything. And the accent of because that's what it is. It makes individually. All of, that's why the like groups like Culture and Burning Spear, no matter, they had a roots about them. They sang like they speak and speak like them sing. And when they bring a message, that's come from there. It's roots. It's no, Queen's English, but it's still the message. And we need, but the younger, those, all of the good ones, pioneers, die out now. So it's up to the younger generation and people like you or ourselves to try and encourage, to promote them, that they will make real music. You cannot beat reggae music. I've written a piece about it which is due to come out, and a book I'm trying to finish off to market in due course.
Tyrone, can I just interject, Tyrone? Yeah. So just to summarize, you came from Jamaica at a young age. You was in Nottingham.
Yeah.
You always had a dream to get in the music business, and you took yourself as a young guy. You came down to London, formed a label, started releasing tunes. It's like sounds like you're quite driven.
Yeah, that I was. I mean, I set up my publishing company when I was about 18, when I came to London, because I'd written a lot of songs don't forget that I was singing in a group from I was 12 years old.
That's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, how did you learn to sing, or do you just sing naturally?
Well, actually, I learned to sing because when I was in Jamaica, I think if you grew up in Jamaica, most people, I don't think there's a Jamaican who would auntie or granny or whoever never go to church. So when you go to church, them drag you along as a little boy. So I was being put on stage from about 2 years old, I could remember. They used to put me on a stool and they used to give me, we call it recitation, to go and recite poems and spiritual psalms and things. And I used to do that as part of the thing. Just down the bottom of our house, there was a Salvation Army play, and we used to go there. My auntie used to be a teacher there, a Sunday school teacher there as well. So I used to go to my Church of England, where I was christened in town. Then I come back and I come to go to a few other churches, but we'll come and finish the late night service and the late afternoon service of that one. So they used to put me on stage to say, spiritual recitation and also to sing. So I was singing from about 2, and because she was like an artistic director in the Christian thing, in the church thing, anywhere they were putting on like Harvest Festival, we used to have that a lot in Jamaica, and anything she used to, there's always concerts, she used to always find a way in the program to put me on stage to perform and do something. So I was doing where I go. So that's where my performing skill came from, because I was trying to push me, into that. And I ended up enjoying it, actually.
Because, Did you also play instrument?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I taught myself to play. I'm not a brilliant musician. I rely on, I pick better musicians than I am. Like when I'm going to play music, like when I'm creating a recording, I find I can play rhythm and bass and drum and bits of everything, but I don't see myself as a brilliant musician. So I normally call upon when people like Popsy from our Angus or Les McNeil tradition, or investigate rhythm to put together certain things I'm going to record and build up my little musician. But I haven't played a lot. I deliberately haven't played because I think they're better musicians than I, and I think I better give them the feet more than me.
Okay, Marv, I got a question.
Yeah, I got a question. Tyrone, I know you told us that they took you to court, and it was a big thump them gear.
Oh goodness!
Did you recover from it?
Well, I can tell you, I signed a band to RCA. When they came to me, like Aswood, I gave them 10%. Now, you know about record. Tradition came, I gave them 10% on my venture record. Now, the reason why I gave them 10% and not 1.5% or 2%, like if you went to Palmer, that's what you would give, is because I was with Palmer and I know the record business. Whether it's 10% or even 15% in the reggae business is nothing, because you don't sell that amount of record to make any money at that level. But I was just being generous and understanding by giving them 10%. Now, when I signed my deal with RCA gave me 11% as a producer and owner for the production. Now, out of that 11%, like all groups, the producer then paid the artist a percentage, which usually anything from 1.5% to 2%, depending on how popular the artist is and valuable, and so forth. And I said to them, after expense, because I'd done the alternative route, the Captain Ganja, some other albums, and with RCA gave me a 5-year contract. And what I did, I completed the 5-year contract in 1 year. So they wanted 1 album a year. So what I did the 5 album in 1 year, including they wanted Moving On. So Moving On, and another 4 albums they want. So I completed 4 albums.
So you're cutting out. Is there something in the background playing?
Yeah, so I could get all the advance all at once. So I made the album very futuristic. If you listen to like Captain Ganja, the alternative roots, and the other one, they're quite futuristic, because I was dealing like this year and I was thinking about 2 to all the album didn't sound the same. I was doing it in advance, of the year. But they were very happy. So they were going to give me the advance, and that would be good. So I said, I will, when I get that, then I would give the group, after I cover my expense and thing, I will split it. I would give them 5% and I keep 6%, which was absolutely, absolutely stupid. Every record boss from RCA, Virgin, Chris Blackwell, Island Record, tell me I was stupid because it doesn't happen. I was being too generous. How could I give them, and they're not superstars? So that's where the problem. What, after doing all that, they waited until the deal is signed. I got them an international touring contract to tour Europe and come back. Worth quite a lot of money, and when they come back, and then I was dealing with. They didn't know anything about all these things because I do things very privately. When they came back, now they were super. They managed to set up and go on tour with Boomtown Rats, Bob Geldof, and all these. I got them television work, saying that they could succeed. They had Breezing was going to climb in the charts, and everything was laid out for them, because behind the scene I was working like mad.
Tyrone, who are we talking about? Tradition, yeah?
Yeah, Tradition now. So yeah, so they're the ones which I end up in court, because they, after going and got the deal, and I'm explaining to you, I was explaining before, the RCA said, as much as they wanted, it's a brilliant concept and I've got the right dream and they were not going to sign the band because because Chris Blackwell and Richard Bronson told them that they're not going to deal with reggae groups again because they're bad investment, because they're going to have a war. They're going to have war over woman.
Right.
So they weren't going to sign them. So as much as the group, I had to get my accountant, a very wise Jewish man, to come to support. And I said, listen, we're like brothers. We are not going to break up. We eat from the same pot. I told the guy, the chief at RCA. And he believed in me. But he says, it's not me, it's my boss upstairs and the one in America. So he went away and he begged him 6 times. I had to go to different meeting because they said, yes, we like it, but they didn't want to take the risk. But I said, we're like brothers. And then he said, I believe in Tyrone. Tyrone said, it's not like the typical group. They're not going to break up because they eat out of the same pot. They're like brothers. So the guy says, okay, it's on your job, be it. So he convinced RCA decided to sign Tradition as a result. So it didn't just go like that on their talent. The reputation of the reggae business influenced their, and they weren't going to do it. But after great persuasion, they did it. And in what, June, April, May, August, I think it was. And in September, there was a dispute because it went behind my back. They didn't understand the amount of energy and effort and that went on to try to get them where they go. And they got somebody else. Cool. That's where the solicitor came in. So I found myself now in litigation and no money for the advance, which I thought I was going to get no money because it was expended, and we're in litigation. So RCA said, well, we're not making any money yet, and Tyrone isn't making any money. And if you don't under Tyrone's management, we don't want to know. So that's what. But again, I had to.
Could I interject?
Yeah, you can.
Could I interject there, Tyrone? Sorry, mate. And correct me if I'm wrong. Because you mentioned earlier about you wanting to come and do roots music, but when I've looked you up online, most of the songs, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that I've seen you produce was Lovers Rock. My question was, is it because of, so I'm asking the question, my question is it because of the behavior of the Jamaican artists you was trying to work with and presuming you was trying to do roots music? Was it because of the behavior of those Jamaican artists why you now started concentrating on Lovers Rock?
No,
or not?
yeah, I've always wanted to concentrate on Lovers Rock because from my experience, particularly when I was with Palmer you could say serving my apprenticeship, the attitude of some of I was there at Palmer and some of these artists, Jamaican producers, they have their differences. He would take their pre-release record and release it. And then they come over and them says, see my record sell, I'm not get the money, I'm never tell you if I release it. And about 2 occasions, I was kidnapped, literally, in Palmer's shop there.
Wow.
Because they came and them come and them are bucking me, them producers, because they couldn't find him. And they would swear that I was Palmer's son. They couldn't because, I dressed well and spoke well and just looked maybe quite official and they say, yes, a Palmer. And I said, no, I'm not. And they say, yes, man, a Palmer boy. This, that. It's a good thing I would say calm and with the power of God. I wouldn't because they were rough. Them are go bucking me and them are go machete me and hold me around some Palmer. I mean, if you explain, Mr. Palmer is not in today. I think he's away.
Why was this? Because they wanted.
Yeah, because
because they wanted the rights for music.
No. They put out. If you might, they put out Palmer and Trojan, the 2 biggest reggae company. Palmer put out a lot of music on his label. Some of them he took officially, and some of them he took unofficially. He would get the pre-release version of a song that he liked. He would release it without telling the artist in Jamaica. And sometimes he would, when him tell him, say, "Yep, I didn't fly up from Jamaica, come to look for their royalties or hear that their music is out," because they didn't give it to him. And he release it. So when he released it in company shop, he's not there. And sometimes him come, then one of them see him, what, Jamaican, like, agree. So that put me off in the sense of the characters I ended up dealing with. They were very violent.
Okay.
Rough,
Yes.
and dangerous. At the time, instead of saying gun, at the time in that.
But Tyrone, didn't they have rights to be angry that someone's took their tune in?
Listen to me.
Bootlegged it and released it.
They have right. Listen, they have rights to be angry because somebody took their music off pre-release, released it, and then maybe promised them that they're going to get some royalties. And in Jamaica, I find myself, the artists them have a vision that when somebody in England deal with the music, they must be making a lot of money. Now, I'm sure a lot of people, in a sound system, men will know that it's tough in the business. Them sooner pull back or not play a big venue, them things and make a lot of money. It is not the case. It's in reality, all a businessmen, it is not easy. But these people come from Jamaica. Their record has been taken without their permission, or if it has been notified that they're been taken, we've marketed and we're going to give you some money.
But sorry to interject, that used to happen quite a lot though, isn't it, back in the day?
Yes, it used to happen quite a lot. These are the things. And I mean, when Shelley used to run business, from Stoke Newington up, him do that too. Him take music, put it out, and the guy then come over, and then him have chicken feed money. I can't with them say that they will get. But a lot of it was a problem. Yeah. A lot of that was a problem with in that.
Did you ever deal with Greensleeves?
Yeah, I know John well. I deal with Greensleeves. I dealt with him from a music sales point of view. When This Is Lovers Rock was out, he bought thousands literally because he's got a big outlet and him distribute. And he just couldn't get enough to. In matter of fact, he was such a good guy. I would sell him something like 500 copies. I'll go to the pressing plant and whatever I get, I sell him. He was just such a good person. And when I was doing my distribution, he was there. He's a good man. But I've never dealt with him for music to put out. But I've dealt with him on a business. He's very good and he's a good payer. He would give the artist them some money compared to many other record labels. He's John, very good.
Mark, you got a question?
Yeah, Tyrone. So going on to that brings us up to This Is Lovers Rock. So it's probably, you'd say it's probably your most famous song, yeah?
Yeah, it's one of, well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, because that's under Airgasm, right? So was that a band, or was that just
Yeah,
something you put together in the studio? And how did you
yeah.
come about the tune? And just tell us about, how successful it was as a hit for you.
Yeah, Orgasm is a collaboration between myself, Dennis Pinnock, and Snoopy. Snoopy is the white guy who used to write for the Black Echo. He used to write for the Black Echo, Black magazine. He's the journalist for that, and used to compile the charts for the Black Echo, all the number ones and thing. And he does a review. Him and Dennis Brown was very, very close. He loved Dennis Brown, and Dennis Brown loved him. Dennis Brown paid for him expense to come to Jamaica to tour with him, and so he really he's a white man in black skin. He's a black man in a white man in the other way around. He's in white skin, but he's a black man at heart. He loved the music more than anything else. So he was working with me at Venture at the time when we were putting together. I had a master plan in my vision about bringing reggae music commercially, and he had the same vision like I had. We wanted to create something like the Motown. I'm going to send you the biography on it, and you can get it, because I had a schoolboy dream about creating music like Motown and Sim and that same kind of thing. That's why I called my production the Halls and Sound, and he was very much with it. So we put that together, and we were going to do, interesting music with harmonies like Manhattan Transfers and jazzy. We were going to really do reggae in a really sophisticated form. So I went to the studio to record a selection of songs. I remember in Village Way in Harrow, and me, Dennis Pinnock, and Snoopy went along. And I was there to lay some tracks for some other artists, which I was producing then as well. And we decided to, a matter of fact, I was building the track for a girl, for a track called This Feeling, and she didn't turn up. So I said to Snoopy, let's so and so. And Snoopy's he's a genius. So he came, we put this thing together, the rhythm track with the concept, and we say, if we could make that into an interesting version of the most popular lovers rock songs at the time, then we could think. So we started, and Snoopy is a good journalist and a very good vocal arranger. So I said, well, we put that. I sort of left the concept to him, the idea, and we started to work on the songs within the studio. We didn't work on it, in the rehearsal room as before, like some of the things we did. But we had to think on our feet, and we put together that song. All these years we have been. That's it's a Pat Kelly song. Those were very popular tunes at the time, and we put together a selection of the most popular tunes that there were at the time, and I laid the track and put on the vocals. Then I got my friend, he's a brilliant guitarist named Roy Simmons, from Black Stallion originally. When I first came to London, I was putting together the band him out called Black Stallion, and that guy was guitar. It was a really guitar. It's like Hendrix, but he's good. So I sat down with him and tell him, listen to the music, and this is what I want you to talk to this song, compliment me, So he played that single guitar you hear, at the beginning. I said, play that there and talk, just fill the gaps in and let it come alive, make it be interesting. So the guitar, so we built it. So after I laid the vocals, and it was the harmonies we did in like one take. We just put it together. Because Dennis is a good harmonizer, myself, and Snoopy's a brilliant harmonizer. So we just did it, and we just worked it that evening and laid the tracks. And after that, we put on the guitar, and and I topped it up with some filling my strings on there, and the record was more, but it's the harmonies and thing. And when I finished, the length of the track, I spliced it again and start from the beginning to, that tap 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 tap. That we did it. I'm just a man. And we had Snoopy to play that other keyboard part on it at the end on that track. So we built it together in one evening, actually, and so forth. And I did get my guitar guy to come back and just to fill in, to give it that feel, that little, that sort of thing. Yeah, but that's how it came together. So I sang the first part, Out of All the Year, and I sing like the tradition, like every little beat of my heart, and moving on, and I'm so proud, that those sort of thing. And Snoopy sing other parts, you can tell his voice, and then Dennis Pinnock sing, Love the Way It Should Be, and other, so we made the most popular Lovers Rock tracks that they were putting together. So yeah, that was the best Lovers Rock song or disco for the decade and beyond, the anthem of the 80s. So this is Lovers Rock, that's the anthem of Lovers Rock, really. So it's been voted and all that kind of thing over the years. And then we did the other part of it, if you get a chance, you played, which is called Name That Tune, where Snoopy and Dennis Pinnock, Dennis Pinnock is a good DJ. I discovered him at Soprano B's dance in Brixton. Somebody told me about him, that I should go down and see this guy. Mm-hmm. And they're riding the rhythm, and I signed him up the same night. He was so good, different. So I recorded him. I think the first one we recorded with Dennis the Menace on there. But him and Snoopy did, if you listen to it, what you're listening, called Name That Tune, People, Are You Ready? Blow. And all the popular tunes, the DJ tunes in that period of the 80s, late 70s and 80s, they copied it and made the version to the rhythm, to the Lovers Rock rhythm, which was also a big hit. So that also became a big hit in the soul charts. So that charted in the soul charts when this Lovers Rock started to go down, because it was in the charts for about a year, about number one for about 11 months. But then when that started, that the soul people, like Tony Blackburn, all those soul nights out, that became their anthem. People, Are You Ready? So if you get a chance, you listen to it. It's a lovely track, never dies. When you put it on a party or in the dance, just wake up the dance. So, Snoopy and Dennis, they're quite good DJs and stars in their own right. So you get a chance to listen to it.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Lovers Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I know that song was one of the songs that everybody used to love dance to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How long was that song? Because that was part of the reason as well.
Yeah, you have to read the back of the LP. I'm gonna send it to you if you haven't got it. The back of the LP, the back of the because when I put it originally, I didn't put it out with any information. But when I remarketed it out and put it on Music Scene, my Music Scene label, I put the cover and I said this album was designed and specially formulated so that by the time, you sometimes remember you're on the dance floor dancing with a lovely girl, and by the DJ put on the song, and by the time you start to dance with the girl, the record finishes, and there she walks out of your life, maybe forever. So I said, This now is to make sure by the time this record is finished, you're supposed to get everything, her vital statistics, her date of birth, her bank account, and everything. And yeah. So
well, you have to ask a question, because the way you put it there, is what them say, you hold on tight and let go easy.
That's it. Yeah. And that's what the thing. When me make the music, I always believe in we call it wallpaper.
Yeah, rub off the wallpaper, man.
Yeah, because by the time you're done with this record, on the wallpaper,
gone.
Decoration.
Come on.
Yeah, but it really did live up to its thing, you know, a lot of people sometimes come and send things and congratulate you. How this record, it really works because they were able to dance with the girl and vice versa, and them chat and them thing and them get to know each other by the time the record finished, because that was the concept.
Enough baby.
Yeah.
All right, Tyrone.
Yeah.
We'll ask two quick questions on the music. Has anyone got any two quick questions for Tyrone on the music, and then we'll go into
Can I just confirm those, Tyrone? You're the pioneer for Lovers Rock, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, when I went to Palma, I'm a fair person. I don't want all the credit. I think we are people like you and your DJ there, and are the pioneers, because in something I've written, without the sound system, there'd be no Lovers Rock. There was no outlets, no radio. You could have made the record till if you never. The first set of record we make for Aswad and Tradition, who make them go give the sound system. It's the sound system that plays the part. And from this, when you're on a radio station, you couldn't cut the dub plate. It's later on we could cut the plate or give Tony Williams or Roddy Gunn. But to begin with, they weren't there in the earlier days of billing reggae music. And people like Junior English, Eugene Paul, Denzel Dennis, all those were the original people who used to sing for British people who used to go in the studio, go make reggae and put it up on Palma label. So all those are to mention, because their records were among the first pioneering Lovers Rock record that came. Junior English, he plays a big part in the British, you know, if you go and check his history, he made a lot of records. Apart from him, he used to do a lot of shows, but he made a lot of records.
He died recently, didn't he? He died.
He died buried last 15 this month. And he was a good pioneer in the sense of, but a lot of people don't know that, you see. But there's a few people like Ronnie Williams that was very instrumental in helping the reggae, because they just discovered how. And when I came to London, Ronnie Williams was my mentor. It was him who said, I like what you're doing. And it was him when I left Nottingham, leave my college and my apprenticeship to come and connect with in London at Palma to continue this schoolboy vision.
But you came as a youth. I'm not.
Yes.
North London.
I came as a ambitious youth, because everybody would tell me, no, you can't go to London. You don't know nobody. But I saved up my money from about 12, 13. When I came to London, I came with about 3,600 pounds by the time I was 18. So, because I knew I was going to come, I don't know nobody, but I've got to sort out and survive and think, and it worked well. You know, so part of my investment from out of the money I had left, because I was young, I gave away some without think in order to get connection and thing, is that in my heart there is a place that tune there and tenderness. Those are my first investment production, about 90. Yeah. So that's where some of my money first went.
Question I got to ask you. The record, you know where you had the way the band was practicing around Arrow Road?
Yeah, that's Venture Records.
Gangsterville. Because I used to buy tunes from that shop.
Yeah, me know you. Me know.
Yeah, you know.
Me say you're the original pioneer. I think if you talk about reggae music and some of the original touches, people like you have to be interviewed, because you know the runnings. That's where it all started. That's where Aswad, Janet Keir, Sonia, Tradition, Investigator, a whole heap of them, Tim Shandell, come out of the little back room there.
Oh.
Okay, so when
Tyrone, and then we'll go into the cuisine. Yeah.
One more question.
Got one more music question.
Okay, well,
another week or whatever you want. I am here. Just give me a call whenever it's convenient for you. But I'm going to send you some of the information to answer all the questions. How long is this Lovers Rock? And then you'll read it. You'll get, because nothing is just by chance. Everything was planned. I'm a good planner, so that's why it's worked the way it is, and that's why I like your concept, what you're doing, and want to join up and do things.
I've got a quick question, Mr. Tyrone, before we go into, your Caribbean cuisine.
Okay.
Right. You mentioned Ginger Williams tenderly, yeah.
Yeah, because we're from Nottingham.
That's down as like one of the first Lovers Rock tunes, if not the first, isn't it? So how were you involved in that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When I went to London, I said I was doing me and Ronnie Williams, which was the house producer for Palmer, because that's how I made my connection. And I told him that I said to him, when I went to Palmer, I came to go and sign up as a singer for Palmer. But when I went to London and in my late teens, and I saw how people like Alton Ellis, and a few of the other artists, even Eugene Paul and those other artists were living. And I remember when I was 13, 14, coming from my bookings, I was getting more money as a schoolboy. Now, these were people that I really admired because they were singing, they were making records, and I wanted to be like them. When I came to London, I find that they were not in a financially secured, particularly even Alton Ellis. So that's why I ended up managing Alton for a while and getting him proper bookings. Alton was going out to Birmingham, place like that, for like £120. By the time them get van and thing, they couldn't even pay them way back. Sometimes the van them run out of petrol and got the money to come back from on the motorway. It's very bad. And I thought, no way, Alton is I love Alton. I used to be singing like him. I was using his songs, singing competitions when I was going to school. So I was disappointed when I came and the way he was, So me and him become very good friends. I took him over. I managed him. I created this band called Davrak. In fact, they were going already, Davrak. And I used the band to back him and get bookings, because I know how the bookings are got, because when I was going to school, the promotion agents that I used to work with in Nottingham, I see how they do it and see how them ring up, get the thing, the percentage they get. And so I came, and when I was at Palmer had his own little inbuilt promotion agency. So I knew how to work that. So I took over Alton Ellis' little thing because he wasn't being managed properly. And using my experience and because I really did have great respect and love, I started getting bookings in Birmingham, in All Nations, at the Apollo, proper money. I got him bookings for £1,200, which was a lot of money then, because before me was getting £100 to go to this. And I got the band named Davraks. In matter of fact, this photograph of me and Alton and the Davraks and millionaires, he used to call them. I said to Alton, you should be a millionaire. Sam says, you think very big, Tyrone. So I tell you what, I'm going to call the band Millionaires. Everything he associates with millionaire. So he eventually called the backing band Millionaires. So when he used to go up on stage, he used to say, ladies and gentlemen, here, Alton Ellis and the Millionaires. Because he thinks I think big. And I said, you should be millionaires. So him also tell him say, Mr. Millionaire, because he should be. Okay. And I was we kicked off from there, and he was going to do the bang and promote them as Alton Ellis and the Millionaires. But that way he started to make some respect. He could go out and he could pay the band and he could come home with some £100 in his pocket. But they weren't treating him right, and that's what's wrong with the reggae business.
Right. One more question. We have one more question for you on the music side, Norman.
Quick one, guys.
Norman, you got a question? Switch on your
question,
mic. Quick, make it quick, Norm.
I don't know if I met this gentleman at the time when I was doing things, but you mentioned a lot of people I know very well too.
Yeah, if you're in the business, you know all of them.
Well, see, I'm going to tell you for the first time, if you don't know, it's me, the original man that started Greensleeves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Man. You can ask Chris Cracknell, anybody. Call them. I can't say that they sue me.
I'm just trying to remember if I know your face, because
I used to be in West Ealing. I started it in West Ealing. And then I opened my shop called Motion Music.
Motion. Have you got a label? or just record shop?
No, at the time I didn't. But it was me and Chris Sedgwick from Greensleeves. You know Chris Sedgwick?
Chris, yeah.
He's the real man, and me. Chris Cracknell wasn't there.
Okay. It's
I
interesting.
formatted that, yeah. I said, I know Mr. Palmer well.
Yeah.
I put a lot of money in his pocket.
Oh, yes.
You see me, you know, he know me very well. So I'm trying to recognize you because you'll be young at them times. I was young then.
Yeah. I used to run Palmer's record shop, the one on the High Street.
Yeah, on the High Street, Jetstar.
Yeah, the one on the High Street.
Jetstar by the bus.
That became Jetstar because when I was in London, Palmer had about 14 shops, and all of the shops them closed because of the mismanagement of the people who had working there, except the one we was managing in Craven Park. You know, so that's from that Jetstar. Palmer turned it into Jetstar and rebuilt his life from there because you know that the problem he had gotten bust. He lost the estate agents. He lost Palmer Records, everything, all sort of thing. So he decided to.
Him and his brother that had is it Apollo?
Apollo.
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
I know the one of them.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah. Carl is one who runs the estate agents and the Jetstar.
Apologies, man. I need to interject here because we
Norman, did you have a question? Yeah, did you have a question, Norman? Because we need to start talking about his ventures into the food industry, Scrumptious and so on, which is what most of us know Tyrone as. A lot of us don't know him as a producer. We know him from Scrumptious. So have you got a question, Norman? And if not, then we have to move on
I've heard some of the tracks that you mentioned and where they used to rehearse and that and ask them.
Yeah.
And all of them that was rock. Janet Kay and all of them.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember
Carol Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Your lighting's bad, Norman. Your lighting in there is bad. You can't see.
Everybody, I'm trying to remember you. You don't look somebody who's unfamiliar. Believe me. Going back years from.
We can't go on into like who remembers who and who not. Let's keep the thing moving. Apologies. With the most respect, guys. With the most respect, guys.
You direct.
Okay.
That's why I said that.
You direct. I will follow.
You're lighting on them. You're lighting.
So in the music, so you was always involved in the music up into the 80s. What brought you to Luton, and then what made you sort of go into the food industry?
I came to Luton because I have also dabbled in a lot of properties during my time in London, and I came to Luton to following my friend Leslie from Tradition to buy a house. And I came up here with him, after assisting him to come and get a property, because he said you can get property in Luton cheaper. So when I came the first day, I was amazed to go up Stockinstone Road and saw a property I bought. That's why I ended up in Luton that I liked for the first time. I didn't come to, but I couldn't believe it because I had property in London. This property was about £59,000 with a backyard. It had we call it granny annex and part to extend. Beautiful. So I bought it. And so the next time I came back to Luton, I was going down the Stockings Road, the bottom end, and I saw another house and I bought it. So I had two houses on Stockings Road. And then I came up here again and I saw another house at the corner of Old Bedford Road and I bought it. So I ended up in Luton having about 3 or 4 properties, which I didn't come originally, and that's why I ended up in Luton actually. And then the mother of my children, she loved the fact that here you are, big house, it's such good, nice that she want to move to Luton. So she moved to Luton because the school was just around the road, Bushmead, and I decided to although I was living in Luton, I still had business in London and Nottingham and Derby and those places. I had distribution, thing, like a business with my own distribution. So we set up a wholesale in Nottingham for Birmingham and for Manchester and all these places. So I was quite on the go. But Luton, I liked the fact that there were nice big houses for the price. So I ended up in Luton. And then while I was in Luton, I was observed from London to say they didn't have any Caribbean food. They didn't have any Caribbean food outlet. Now, I was looking around and all the places that was available, they wanted like about £100,000 just for the building before you even put the quote up here. And, because I'd bought quite a few properties in Luton, I had a place on we call it Cromwell Road. Cromwell Road, they had
Cromwell Hill.
Cromwell Hill. Thank you. You know the runnings.
I went there.
My man didn't know the history.
Yeah, when you first opened, man. When you first went open, I went there with my friend in Glamour.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember what I had.
Yes, dumpling, fried chicken.
Saltfish.
And saltfish, or whatever.
Yeah, some saltfish and thing. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we did. So
I used to like the Guinness Punch, man.
Yes, Guinness Punch.
Dumpling.
You know the runnings. Yeah, so I decided to start it from the flat. So we started setting up from the flat. And a friend of mine, he had some McDonald's chairs. I bought them from him and put them in the front room and the little record shop in the second part and the kitchen. And we kick off from there. So we had there for a while. And I knew that I was going to get the problem from the source, from the council to, about, we call it location and not the right place. But we used to have this local council used to come up, become eat named Mr. Udin or something like that. And I remember they were trying to close me down, but this man came there and said, listen, you said you're trying to promote Caribbean cohesion and multiculturalism. He said, this place is a nice little place. He said, I go up there, the food is good and I enjoy it. I said, he said, if you shut them down just because you're trying to, it's just being racist and things, he said, you'll have a problem on your doorstep. He said, the whole of Luton will come up on the doorstep. You're going to have to give answers because you're promoting this thing about multicultural. And now this is the thing they were just answering the call for. He says, you go up there, everybody's up there. He says, every culture is up there and the food is good. So you better, because this man is trying to close on, so we now have planning permission and this and that. And so from there, in the meantime, I then sought and bought the place on we call it Leagrave Road, where we've been for many, many years. So, from there, and that was official because it had the A3 permission and it was already a takeaway. And then we kicked off Scrumptious from there. But because there was a need to have something, having so much West Indian in Luton, and there was no official proper takeaway of food restaurant and things.
Is that the one you're talking about next to Conway?
Yeah.
When you next to Conway.
Yeah, next Conway Arms. Yeah, that's right. So that's where we started off there. Although we ended up having one in Dunstable Centre and one on down, another one down thing, and then we did buy the thing for the international. So we were doing the restaurant for the international and the club as well. We were trying to buy, but there was a bit of politics with the ownership, with the guy, they had a fight in the club because I had already given the money and everything like that. But they had a fight, and the guy, he stabbed another guy, and the court tell him, say, he cannot come to Luton. He's banned from Luton. So he was the one who I had faith in, and he knew the business. So, I just had to withdraw and from the internet because he was very good, but he had a fight, stabbed somebody, and had some argument at the door, and the police told him saying had to stay out of it. So I forget that deal. But anyway, we still had Scrumptious on the league opposite.
Oh, that's international, yeah. LA using that.
We had that. We were running the club, the restaurant upstairs for a long while, and we were trying to get there.
Hold on, I'm in mute. Sorry, I'm in mute.
We're trying to get the full club. We were going to make it into a very nice outlet which was going to be very, very good. We're going to change the whole concept of it so that, big women could come up, people who want to come decently. But we had to leave that because of the politics. And otherwise it would have had it really designed and it was going to be wonderful. Been a nice club. But then it worked out with, and then we had to withdraw from that. Okay. But it would have been a good entertaining thing because I did arrange at the time for Dennis Brown and Alton Ellis. They were my good friends from London. They said they will come and Rodigan, they'd come and open it up and come and do regular venues for me cheap because I knew them, where they would charge certain, they would have charged, but just to get it going, but with that didn't get, I only had one person. I had Peter Campbell. He came there to do a soca night, one at the club at Donna. It was quite good, but we didn't. After that, the politics, and we didn't get to fulfill. Otherwise, we'd have had Rodigan. Dennis Brown said he would come. Alton Ellis would come because we're good friends with him, and I've been good to him, and he was coming to do me a favor, and just it wasn't going to charge me anything. I know Rodigan saying we'll come and do it as well, but didn't get kick off. But potential in the music. We need good place for entertainment, and we need good outlets for food, and we need good outlets generally to cover our culture. And
Tyrone, I remember in the restaurant you also had the record shop upstairs as well, didn't you?
Yes. I've always had record shop. Even Cromwell Hill, there was a record shop next to the counter where I sell CD and vinyl and because I had record shop from London. I had record shop in Nottingham, Birmingham, Derby, and I had a distribution center, which we used to have a big mobile bus. We used to go and 2 vans on the road. So we used to go and do. We used to even supply give to Greensleeve, and Greensleeve give me his product, and me what Greensleeve get from Palmer. I would give him anything that he wants. We had a good groove, and supply shops in Birmingham, Manchester. We even got to Wales and Scotland on the mobile bus. I was trying to do the expansion for the reggae business. That's what it is. The reggae business always lack outlets to sell. Palm was doing well, but there could be more outlets for the music. So we took it to various parts of the country where there was record shop, a record outlet, but the distribution, if they had to come to Palma, although sometimes you can get record by post. But when we brought the van, people had more choice.
And before I'll ask one more question, and then we'll open the floor to if anyone wants to ask any questions. You were the first man I see you went into even the frozen food.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You was quite ahead of your time there, weren't you?
Always. Yeah, definitely.
Ahead of your time.
Yeah, because even I at the time thought, what's this guy doing, man? Who's gonna buy frozen curry goat? You know what I mean? But,
we made I'm sorry. We made pickles and we Escovitch onions long before reggae sauce or do all them something. We tried to get our patties and our food into Sainsbury's, into Tesco, into Asda, into all these things. I've already gone through the runnings and them say, yes, we want lovely, this, that. But our manufacturing potential was not good enough to supply those places when I get to find out. And my accountants advised me, it is best to leave it because you're small, and when you bring the name into those companies and they turn you down at the beginning, you're not going to get in again later on. So leave it till when you're in a position when you can maybe afford the premises, that you can reach to what's called the ASAP standards, which is if you're going to produce food for Sainsbury's or Tesco, your premises where you produce the food has to be like a operating theater. Believe me, it has to be so spotlessly clean and that kind of thing. And you can actually put together, spend the money to do the premises like that, and still turn on and tell you that they don't want the food after you spend all that money. So he says, leave it. Because they had made arrangement to come to Scrumptious, come and we inspect the food and see where the food is produced and to get tasters and what have you. But I'm a practical person. I'm not a greedy person. I thought, let me leave it as my accountant suggested, because we weren't big enough to supply the standard which they want. And if them say no now, 5 years down the line, they're not going to say yes. Mm-hmm. So it's best to, so I turned that down because we were making patties, a good variety of patties, but we couldn't supply it because we didn't have the manufacturing facility. We couldn't, we didn't have the method to do the rice and peas and the curry goat and the various dishes that we're doing. A very interesting menu to their standards. So I just kept it frozen locally, but it worked well. The frozen concept was the first of its kind. We could go and get the whole Caribbean menu, you name it. Cold food, rice and peas, chicken, curry goat, curry mutton, boneless chicken, you name it. Callaloo, ackee and saltfish, steamed fish, oxtail, beans, stew peas, vegetarian style, cultural style.
Yeah, your menu was long. Your menu was
long. Yeah. And me cook all of them.
All right. Desmond said, "Give." Sorry, bro.
Even I used to.
Thank you.
Desmond said, "Give thanks to Brother Tyrone for his contribution to the Caribbean culture in Britain."
Oh, yeah. Yes,
right, I love. Dudley says, "Where did the name Scrumptious come from?"
Funny enough, people I was asking say, Tyrone, you always come with some fantastic name: Orgasm, Scrumptious, Venture, Gangsters of Love, Halls and Sound, all these things you come up with. But it just come. I'm very good with thinking, meditating, and thinking with him. Yeah, Scrumptious, because Scrumptious, it means so much. It's just something scrumptious, it's just yummy and just,
I remember that you after the dance, man, we used to pop you in and
yes.
Punch and dumpling or something. You used to open them time there.
Yeah, you're the average young boy, then to come up Scrumptious, come a late night when you come from when you could come by, come get dumpling and saltfish and our thought, variety of food. And the punch, we do the carrot juice, we do the Guinness punch and Irish mash, all these things, you see. So I think, Caribbean food is a lovely food. It's just a lot of the people who is selling it, them a do it for the money, them a hustle. Them now give the food the real, authentic representation it needs. Because Jamaican food is really, really beautiful if it's cooked proper and presented proper. Come and go place, go eat, and them just also make the money. If it's carrot juice, it tastes like milk water. Irish mash, them water it down. They're just interested in adding the pounds. But they really say, you have to keep that, if me make Guinness, but me use the best Guinness. Me now water it down with milk and me use the best of everything because it stays strong. And we've succeeded as a result of that. People tell me them go land them test this, but nothing tastes like Scrumptious. So I believe in that name. We make curry. People go wedding all over the place. I tell them, say, it's Scrumptious. Go there. And they say, did you do a wedding in so and so? I says, yes. Yes, and I bet the man them say, a Scrumptious curry got this, a Scrumptious.
Oh, it's a brand.
Dumplings are legend. Yeah, people come from the States, come with them cooler. So them buy food for Caribbean States. So we were blessed. And we're unique in that form. So we want to maintain and promote the concept of the Caribbean. I believe in the culture. My happiest days is when I was those maybe 10 years I spent in Jamaica knowing Jamaican food and Jamaican culture. I think everybody should get the opportunity to go spend some time in Jamaica. Every youngster grow up to get the culture and taste the food and just get the feel of things. It's beautiful. I think it does.
Has anyone got a question to ask? Tyrone?
Dudley asked, has there been a Scrumptious special?
Special?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
I'm creating, I'm trying to sort that out in this sense. We want to create what's Scrumptious caviar patties. If I have some caviar in the fridge, make go experiment and but don't have lobster patty and crab patty, but me have some version of it where the patties was very, very, very nice. me not try, it's when we created, I mean, I try to remember what it was like was a little boy in Jamaica. You go and get some, we call it aerated water, or cream soda, or whatever, and a chocolate milk and a patty. Not sweet like that, you know? So there's something about the way Jamaican patty used to taste. And that's what me try and create. Even the goat, even the jerk chicken and the jerk pork and all them something there. That's what I remember the taste. Friday night, it was a fantastic, you know, but we're going to be doing some interesting things shortly, before long. But keep the space, because you'll be there so we can advertise by you too.
All right, good. Any more questions, family, before we wrap up?
You can always have an extension when you're ready again. You can always call me. I'm at your convenience.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right, then.
It's a good concept what you're doing there. It's wonderful. I think we could, you know, expand. I think the ideas are brilliant, and we need to, like, you know, like the last week conversation, you know, we need to certainly make our younger generation a bit much more aware, and everybody actually. You know, we have a great culture. We just need to, you know, promote it and highlight it and make them know. So it die off is there.
Respect.
Thank you so much, my man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Tyrone, thank you very much for coming on, man. And
you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tyrone. Respect.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the privilege. I'm here, so give me a call when you're ready.
All right. Give thanks for your time, yeah?
Appreciated.
Bless.
God bless you. All right.
You,
be good. Thank you.
You too.
Good night. God bless. God bless you all.